Hello and welcome to Creating Balance in the New Year. I'm so excited that you are here. So, we want to go ahead and get started. Today, we're going to be chatting about how to create a little life balance and understand that your problem is not going to be solved today, as much as I would love that. But the information presented, if you put it into action, can definitely help you achieve more balance in your life. I feel that most women are loaded down with a bunch of guilt about things that we should be doing. But what I've often noticed is that their focus is really on not necessarily the wrong things, but definitely not the right things. And honestly, balance is pretty much unachievable. Let's be honest, right? What I'm referring to is the kind of balance that social media tells us to find. If we can get it to move over. There we go. So today we're going to be talking about real life balance for real life people with real life struggles. And I like to say that life balance is basically a moving target. I get asked all the time, how do you balance it all? Let me tell you that I honestly don't. I get asked, how do you keep up with the pace of life, managing your time, making, all the decisions of the house? How do you shake the mom guilt, the wife guilt, the female caretaker guilt that seems to follow us everywhere that we go? And I get asked all the time, how do you do all the things? How do you even know what the right things are? Well, let me tell you that I promise you, I do not do all the things, and I definitely don't always do the things right. So if we have not met before, my name is Karen Strezzo. I am a nationally board certified health and wellness coach. I'm also a certified personal trainer, certified sports nutritionist. I'm a certified behavior change specialist. What does all of that mean? My goal is just to help women live their healthiest, happiest lives. And I really focus on women in midlife. This is a very challenging time. We have a lot going on between launching adult children and navigating the care for aging parents. There's a lot of stress. We've got stress in our, changes in our careers that cause stress, maybe changes in our relationships that are causing stress. So there's a lot that goes into navigating midlife and really living our best selves. And so one of the ways that we can do that is kind of reduce some of the stress. And to help you reduce some of the stress, we want to talk about how can we balance out the things that are really important. So it's important that we are redefining balance. I always ask people, what does balance look like? How did you get to where you are right now? Before we can try to understand our problem with life balance, we need to look at a few of the root causes that make us feel out of balance currently. So we need to ask a couple questions. How did we get here? How did we get to the place of feeling overwhelmed or maybe unfulfilled? How did we get too busy? How did we get feeling too burnt out? How did we end up feeling like victims to our schedules or prisoners to our to-do list? And most importantly, when did we stop having fun? That's a big one. So I want you to think about all of that as we go through this process and through this workshop. If you have not downloaded the workbook, you want to do that because there's going to be a lot of reflection pieces in there. Even if you don't print it out, just having it close by and having a piece of paper that you can jot notes down is going to be ideal. So when we talk about balance, we're really referring to how do we divide up our time, whether it's dividing it up between individuals, between work life, home life. And I think a lot of us growing up thought that life balance means 50-50. Or you envisioned, this piece of pie and everybody gets equal parts. But I'm going to tell you a little secret. I'm going to give you a new definition of life balance that will not only guide how you manage your time, but will also empower you to shake that guilt that is often present. Balance isn't about doing everything an equal amount of time. Balance is doing the right things at the right time. It's about finding out what really matters to you most. And you're going to notice that balance changes depending on the season. I'll just give you a random example. If you're an accountant, tax season is going to be a very high stressful time for you. Maybe the other times of the year, it's not as stressful. So when we talk about seasons, as much as I love the seasons, fall, winter, summer, and spring, We're really talking about those moments in time with life. So why do we feel out of balance? Well, number one, for a lot of women, we're doing too many things. We are saying yes to too many things. We pretend that we are the Energizer Bunny and that we can just keep going and going. But let's be honest, we can't and we aren't. As long as we cram more into our schedules that we can comfortably hold, we will never feel balanced and we will never have enough room to do the things that we really want to do or new things that we want to try. So, doing too many things will always leave us feeling stressed, rushed, exhausted, and anxious. Number two, you're not doing enough things. I know it doesn't make sense, right? Coming off of the first one. So, do you remember when COVID shut down the world for a few weeks? Our calendars were clear and we had all of this free time. And at first, we loved not having any plans. We enjoyed the simple things like just going out and taking a walk around the neighborhood, having dinner with our family. What I see is 4 years later, a lot of people are still living that simple life of staying home and not doing anything. Yes, we're back to work, we're doing all of that, but we're still not making those plans like we had in the past. We've kind of gotten a little lazy. So, reason number two why you might be feeling out of balance is you haven't been with people to connect with. You don't have responsibilities to show up for. You don't have outlets where you just want to share your gifts. You don't have projects to plug into. This could leave you feeling out of balance. It's very common. Reason number three, you're doing the wrong things. Now, obviously, there is no right or wrong things, but if you have responsibilities that really suck the life out of you every single week, you're going to feel out of balance. If you have relationships that are toxic and drain you, you're going to feel out of balance. So if you're spending your time doing the wrong things, things that don't lift you up, don't fill your cup, you're going to feel out of balance. If you're spending time with the wrong people, doing the wrong tasks, it is definitely going to make you feel a little out of balance. And number four, you're not doing the right things. Things that are most important to you. So often I hear people say things like, I would love to work out again. I just don't have the time. I would love to go on a date with my spouse, but we just don't make our schedules line up. I would love to hang out with my kids at the end of the day, but I'm so tired. I just don't have the energy when I get home. If you don't spend time on the things that really matter most to you, of course, you are going to feel out of balance. So we need to do a little self-inventory before we can just jump into a solution. We need to address where we are and where we're losing that time within our day. So let's take a look at what are some of your time stealers. So there's a couple common time stealers. Number one, if you are a people pleaser, anytime you are saying yes because you want to help out others and you enjoy serving others, that really could be taking up a lot of time that maybe you could be pouring back into you. So you really need to see where that balance is. Where do you want to be spending your time? All that helping really might just be a desire to feel loved, but you're not actually enjoying the things that you're doing. And so those are stealing time where you could be doing something that you actually love. So we need to take a look at that. Number two, maybe you have a need to impress others. Think about the things that you do that you want people to notice. Could your standards of perfection be stealing your time? Could it be driving your exhaustion? Number three, you have an unhealthy need to prove yourself only to drive yourself to feeling overworked, overcommitted, or overdoing everything for everyone else. This is definitely a black hole of insecurity. And we have to look at that. Why are we feeling that we need to do that? And how can we address that? Number four, this is definitely my issue. I am obsessed with checking boxes. So maybe you too are obsessed with checking boxes just to have that fleeting feeling of productivity, because it does become a very vicious cycle that is hard to break. When you're addicted to accomplishing things, even if those things are unimportant or irrelevant, so that unhealthy need of feeling productive could keep you like on that treadmill on your to-do list, right? You just feel like you're just constantly going and going. You're not getting any rest. You're not really spending time doing the things that you enjoy. You don't feel at peace. You don't feel creative. I'm one of those people that likes to add things to my checklist that I've already done just so I can check it off. And obviously that's not healthy. Like these are some of the things that we need to look at. These are some of the personal inventory things that we need to check off. All right. And then number 5, your need to escape. So maybe this is stealing time. Maybe it's binge watching. Maybe it's aimlessly scrolling. So, think about what is your favorite way to spend your evening? Are you just vegging out? Because that's what a lot of us do nowadays. And it could go back to when we had that simpler life during COVID. Um, but when we do that, we actually become more tired. We actually have less energy to do the things that we want to do or to do creative, have a creative outlet. So research shows that the average smartphone user touches their phone 2,617 times per day. So think about that. If we're spending over 40 hours a week on those outlets, whether it's work or scrolling or watching TV, we are not allowing ourselves to have time to do the things that we really want to do, like working out, spending time with our spouse, spending time with our children. So we could be, doing things that aren't enhancing our lives. So what I want you to do is, what patterns do you see in your life? And take a minute to do a little self-inventory. Where are your time stealers and how can you address that? Again, if you downloaded the workshop workbook, there is a spot in there for you to do a little bit of reflection. Okay, so we're going to go into, so once we do that, and this is a perfect time if you want to stop the video, you can stop the video, take a little time to do that. Once we do that, we're going to go into part 2, which is just really starting to create that path to balance. So feeling out of balance doesn't necessarily mean that you are out of balance. We need to look at a couple other things. It's very difficult to see clearly when you're feeling tired, stressed, or overwhelmed. So think about that. Are you out of balance? Are you spending time doing things that you shouldn't do? Or do you just feel a little tired? Is this just a season, where it might be a little bit more stressful? So your version of balance is going to look different in different seasons of your life. And that's totally okay. And it should. If you're in a very busy season at work leading up to a deadline, you're probably going to feel stressed and overwhelmed. And once you get past that deadline, maybe you feel a little bit like, okay, things have leveled out. Now I can go back to my normal routine. And that's okay. That doesn't necessarily mean that your life is out of balance. It was just a moment in time. So think about that. The other thing is, so stress is one of them. The other one I get a lot is tired. Tired doesn't necessarily mean you are out of balance. It could be that we need to look at maybe it's a deeper issue, and maybe we need to address some things that are going on in your schedule. Let's take a look at your sleep schedule. Let's take a look at how you're fueling your body. Let's take a look at how you're unwinding at the end of the day. That might be why you're feeling tired. It might not have anything to do with your life being out of balance. And so we talked about stress. We talked about it could be, a season. The other one I get a lot is just feeling overwhelmed. This might be just a sign that you simply need to adjust your schedule. Maybe there's things in there that you're trying to do too much. And maybe eliminating 1 or 2 of those things will help you feel back to balance. So what we want to do is really look at how can we help control our feelings so that we're creating a sense of balance while still leading those busy lives. So take a minute and think about it. Have you ever confused feeling tired, stressed, or overwhelmed with being out of balance? That might be where you are right now, or it could have been at a different time. If you're truly feeling out of balance, then what we want to do is get into redefining balance according to you. So this is where you really want to put in the work. This is where I really want you to put that pen to paper. So first we did a little self-inventory on what are some of our time stealers, right? We also talked about maybe some of the reasons why we are feeling out of balance. Maybe it's being a people pleaser, or maybe we're not doing the right things, or we're not doing things that we really enjoy. So now we're going to get into deciding what really matters. So step 1, when we talk about life balance, what we are often referring to is just really good time management is what it comes down to. We want to feel good about how we are spending our time and how we are managing our schedules. The only problem is it's really hard to see how things should be or could be when we're knee deep in the weeds of our own life, right? So a couple things that I ask people is, what do you want to be known for? Ask yourself this. What do I want to be known for? Who do I want to become in the second half of my life? When I'm no longer here, what do I hope people think about me? Or even when I just leave the room, right? What do people think about me? How do I want to be perceived in other people's eyes? So take a minute to list 3 to 5 words or a few statements that describe who you want to be, because this is really going to tell us where our values are. Who do you want to be? The second one is what matters most. Tell me what kind of person you want to be. This is extremely important. This is going to help you really create that line when it comes to, commitments. Let's talk about commitments. Those commitments that you are saying yes to either reflect the quality or the values that you listed above, or they don't. They are easily moving you towards the person you want to be or further away from it. So a commitment might be volunteering at your church. If that's important to you, then that's something we want to hold on to. A commitment might be showing up at the gym with your BFF. That's perfect. A commitment might be volunteering, at a school that maybe your child used to go to, but doesn't go there anymore. And you're thinking, this is probably one that maybe I need to step away from. I don't need this commitment in my life anymore. So we need to start looking at those. We need to start figuring out, are the commitments I'm saying yes to aligning with the person that I want to be? So before you can create a calendar full of commitments that you actually care about, you really need to get clear on the things that you no longer care about. So again, think about the people, the organization, the causes, the activities. Think about those commitments that matter most to you, and think about the ones that you've been saying yes to that maybe you're ready to set aside and say, this no longer serves who I am. So what do we need to do in order to be the person we want to be? Well, we need to reflect on those qualities. What's going to help you live out those qualities? How are you going to, be healthy? What do you need to make time for so that you can be a good partner, good spouse? If you're wanting to do activities, how can you have the energy to do that? How can you fill up your calendar with events that reflect those values? And what are the things that you need to ditch in this time? So, what makes you feel balanced? Think about when you feel the most balanced. What makes you feel that way? Is it because you have time to spend with people that you love? Is it because you have time to do a hobby that you've put aside for quite some time? Think about when you feel balanced and you feel like your life is full and you feel like you're really enjoying each day. Why is that? What makes you come alive? Think about the things that really matter to you, who you want to spend time with, where you want to spend your time, what kind of things do you want to do? I always encourage people to create a what matters most list. So an example might be, spending time with my family, exercising, crafting, rest, having time to just sit outside and read a book, alone time. That's okay to want alone time, and even work, because that's important. We want to be successful. We want to make money. We want to be, productive. So that goes on that list as well. So these are the relationships, the activities, the commitments that make you light up and come alive. When you spend time on those things, we always call those the right things. That's when you're going to feel most balanced. They are the things that you need in your life. Those are the people that you need in your life. So once you have that list, it's going to help you really define your values. It's going to help you look at creating that perfect calendar. Now, obviously, our calendar is never going to be perfect, but it gives us an idea of what we would want it to look like if we could design it, right? So think about, create a list of about 7 to 10 things that are important to you, and then start to prioritize them. So if I'm listing, working out, family time, alone time, what order am I listing that in? And that's important because that's going to help us, put it all together perfectly. So one of the things I tell people all the time, your time, your money, and your energy are limited resources. Once they're spent, they are spent. So you're going to really have to make some choices here. You're going to have to make some choices that reflect what matters most to you. Because when you do that, you're going to feel a lot better. When we try to do too much, we're going to feel like we're just failing. And that's never a good feeling. So think about the needs, the opportunities, the demands in your life that are going to exceed your ability to meet them. All right. So we want to start to think about, what do I need to cut and what do I need to keep? What's worth keeping and what's worth letting go? What is worth putting on your calendar and what isn't? This is where we really want to take the time to prioritize. So I always tell people, take a minute, think about that, create that list. How do you feel prioritized based on your season, maybe based on your week, maybe based on your day? And then write that down. That's going to help you feel a little bit more in control of your calendar. And once you've decided what matters most to you, the next step on that path to balance is to stop doing what doesn't matter. This is where you get to ditch the distractions in your life. A distraction can be anything that isn't important to you. These are things that you really don't care about in the grand scheme of things. And we want to spend our time doing things that we enjoy. And these distractors could be something that you're spending time on that you don't even know it. Distractors could be something like saying yes to things that you really don't want to say yes to, or wasting time doing something that isn't bringing you joy or isn't adding value to your life. Distractors are another way. Not only do they steal the time, but they also drain your energy and they could possibly drain your joy. So we want to understand some of those distractors. Distraction number one, making other people's problems your problems, whether that is your coworker, you're trying to solve a problem for your coworker, your growing kiddo, your spouse, your BFF, your workout partner, whatever it is, you can't and you should be there for people. Obviously, we want to do that, but we can't feel obligated to fix every problem. When we do that, we start to make time for their problem and we're not focusing on what we need to do for our own self. So again, yes, of course, we want to be there for people, but we want to make sure that we're not making their problem our own problem. It could be lending an ear, but we need to really see where we're spending that time. Distraction number two, we're focusing on the wrong things. So things that steal your joy, things that don't matter to you, things that are sabotaging your ability to feel balanced. Number three, we are overdoing it. When you quit trying to pull yourself up from your bootstraps and, show everybody that you can do everything and you can be all the things, when you stopped feeling like you have to do it all and you allow people to see that you are not perfect, that is actually a distractor that is going to allow you to feel relaxed, and it's actually going to help you feel empowered to know that you're standing in your truth. You don't have anything to prove to anybody, and that's definitely one of the positives in midlife. All right, distraction number four, doing things just to feel productive. So we talked about that earlier. Like I said, if you have that to-do list and you're constantly feeling like you need to be doing something, that might just be a way of distracting you from doing the things that you really want to do. So if you aren't careful, you're going to spend your entire life checking boxes and you're never going to stop to ask yourself if those boxes really represented anything that was worth doing. So I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to spend my life a slave to my to-do list. So it's really important that as much as I want to be productive, I have to make sure that I'm not being distracted by my to-do list. And number five, of course, screens. We all know that those screens can be major distractors, and there's plenty of times that they don't bring us joy. So once we have identified our distractors, then we can really work on moving forward. We can really go into that reflection. Remember, you don't have a time problem, you have a priority problem. So go back into your workbook and really reflect. How do you feel when you spend time on things that aren't important to you? What do you think about the idea of purging your schedule to create time for things that really matter to you? And is it hard to recognize what's important or unimportant to you? If so, why or why not? That might be something that we want to chat about, one-on-one and kind of see if we can make a little bit of headway there. All right. So many of us take a very passive approach to our lives, which leads us to spending time on things that we really don't care about. And so we react to opportunities and then we feel resentful, right? So we've all done that where we're like, okay, yes, yes, yes. And then we're like, wait a minute, I don't want to do this. And so we look at our calendars. We really need to see when we're looking at our calendars where we're supposed to be. Never consider it where you're going. Um, and we never we look at our calendars, but we don't think about, is this actually aligning with who I want to be? Is this actually aligning with where I want to spend my limited resources, which is time, money, and energy? If it's not, then you're not going to find that balance. So what we want to do is create a schedule that reflects the most important things to you. And really, try not to include the things that we don't want to be taking away our valuable time. So when we talk about creating an ideal schedule, we want to jump into what matters most. Okay. So these are the things that you really want to spend time on. List your priorities for this season. It's the holidays right now. So it might look a little bit different right now. Maybe, this season is baking or crafting or spending time with loved ones or volunteering at the church. Maybe coming into the new year, you are doing something different, right? So when I'm filming this, it's during the holidays. When you're watching this, this is going to be post holidays. So now that you have all of that behind you, now how can you move forward? Now that we're done saying yes to all those things, what are some things that we can line up in this new season that doesn't require maybe as much stress or overwhelm or a full calendar? So take a look at your current week. And this is what your week looks like now. And start to list all the things that you have to do, whether it's school events, work events, family events, your workouts, your activities in your church, gatherings, whatever. Start to list all of that. What are the things that you want to keep on there? This is where we can start to consider our ideal schedule. If we could make our ideal schedule, if we could put in all the things that we want to do, how can we do that? And start to write that down. Now, understand that this is just simply a guide. When you make your perfect schedule on that blank copy of a weekly calendar, let's say you scheduled in 5 days of workouts and 2 date nights and, time alone with each kiddo or, whatever it is, alone time, all these fun things that you made your calendar. You might not get to all of them. This is just your perfect week if you could set it up. But what could we start moving to the reality? What could we make the reality be? And understand that as you start to say no to things, you're going to notice that that perfect schedule, that perfect calendar is going to start to look, your regular calendar is going to start to look like that perfect calendar that you've created because you've started to create time. Okay. And then, let me go back here. There we go. So looking at our schedule, realizing what do I want to add to my schedule? What do I want to reduce that is stressing me out? Really take the time to look at, well, what responsibilities do I have that I know I can't get rid of? As much as we would love to, have that 8 hours of work free each day, we got to keep that on the calendar. But what can we do with the other time? And really start to put that in. Are there events where you want to volunteer? Are there things that you want to make, you want to do a race in the new year? Do I need to add my race training schedule on there? Do I want to take a girls trip? How can I set that up? So start to look at, how do I want to put all these things together? What am I saying yes to? What am I eliminating? And as you're updating your schedule each week, make sure you're reflecting on your week and your daily priorities and look at that dream schedule and how are you starting to create that dream life. Remember, it's never going to be perfect, but it does give you something to aim towards. It does give you that list of things that you're like, okay, this is valuable to me and I need to do what I can to start to put this in the front of, the forefront of my life and spend time doing this. And remember, life balance isn't about doing everything for an equal amount of time. It's about doing the right things at the right time. It's about spending your life on what matters most to you. So if it matters, it needs to be on that calendar. Remember, or, it probably is not going to happen. All right. And so when you notice when things don't make the cut, that's okay. That means that you don't have to do them or you don't want to do them, or maybe it's a little bit of both. And that means that they're not a priority for you right now. And that's okay. Maybe they become a priority later on in the year as the season change. Okay. So there is a reflection piece in there. Like I said, if you downloaded the workbook, um, looking at the reflection, um, is it is keeping a schedule or a calendar hard or easy for you? Because that's something we want to look at. Because remember, no one gets to decide what's important to you but you. And so, does this make it a little bit easier? When you're thinking about what you want to keep on the calendar and what you want to get rid of, was it hard to move certain things over, off of your schedule and move top priorities onto your new schedule? And how do you feel about creating that perfect calendar and start to live your life that puts you in a direction towards that perfect calendar? So these are just all reflection questions. You might not have the answers right now. This might be something that you need to go back to, and that's perfectly okay. And then finally, steps 1, step 2, and step 3 are probably going to take a little bit of time. So sit down with it and really, let it sink in, reflect on it, spend some time with it. Don't just, rush through it and have an answer, because you might start to notice that as you start to prepare things, you're noticing that there are things that no longer sit with you. They don't align with you. And then finally, steps 4 and 5. Step number 4, as you're starting to spend time doing things that you love, as you are starting to say no to things that no longer align or serve you, you want to protect what matters. You've got to have the confidence. So confidence is a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger you get. You've got to have the confidence to protect your time. You've got to stop doing the things that no longer serve you. You've got to start doing the things that you want to do. You have got to feel powerful. Remember, this is our second half of life. We only have so much time. How do we want to spend it? So building confidence could be setting boundaries, saying no. Start asking the right questions. Can I do this? Is this a priority for me right now? What if I am not able to do it? Can I do it later on? If I can't do it right now, can I do it later on? Is it something that has to be done right at this moment? How will it affect my family if I say yes? Will I want to do it then? So let's say somebody wants you to do something 6 months from now. 6 months from now, are you going to want to do it? Is that going to be your busy season? Are you going to have time for that, whatever it is that they're asking you, that volunteer commitment or that trip or that, donation, whatever it is? Think about things like that. So, what does confidence mean to you? Have you made decisions in the past about how you have spent your time? Did you feel good about those? How do you feel about saying no and setting those boundaries? Go back into that workbook and do a little reflection when it comes to step 4 on how to protect what matters. And then finally, once you have created that perfect life, which I say perfect in parentheses, once you've created the life where you are doing the things that serve you, you're spending time with the people that you want to spend time with, you are doing activities that you love, you're volunteering for things that you want to be a part of, you're saying yes to these amazing opportunities. Number 5, be present for them, enjoy them, soak it up, really be in the moment. Okay, I know this is a ton of information. So take your time going through this workshop. It doesn't have to be done all at once. And if you have any questions, please feel free to, feel free to reach out to me. I would love to talk to you about this. We can sit down, I can answer your questions, I can help you create that perfect schedule. We can talk about how it aligns with you. So number 1, make sure to download the workbook. You don't necessarily have to print it, but it will help guide your reflection elements. And then number 2, there is another one that you can download. It is not a workbook. This one is just a guide for you on how to create a little bit of balance. It's going to give you a little bit more tips that might help you when you're starting to create that perfect schedule. All right, you guys, all of my contact information is on the link. So please feel free to reach out after you've had an opportunity to watch this workshop. And if you need anything from me, you know where to find me.